Hi, this video is going to show you how to enter a basic requisition in PeopleSoft Financials 9.2. So once you log in, you should be at the Employee Self-Service page where you're going to see these tiles. To enter a requisition, we're going to go to the Requisitions tile and click. On this page, you can click this magnifying glass and select the appropriate business unit. Then, since this is a new requisition, we're going to leave this as next. Click Add. And now we're on the requisition screen. The first field to fill in is going to be the requisition name. You only have a limited number of characters here, so just type in a brief summary. Then in the header level here, you can see your name and the date have defaulted in. So we're going to come down here to the line level on the Details tab. And the first field is item. If this was going to be a requisition for an inventory item, you would fill out that information here. Since this is for non-inventory, we're going to go to description. And this is sort of like the requisition name, only you can type a much longer description of what we're buying. So just enter that information here. Now we're going to move to the next field, which is quantity. Next is going to be unit of measure. Then we have category. Finally, the price. And then if you look up here, at present we have a total amount of $0, but if we come down and hit refresh, it's going to multiply the quantity by the price and give us a total amount. Now, one big thing to note about 9.2, this is the big takeaway of this video. At this point, if I were to hit save, this rec would go immediately into workflow and routed to the approvers. So the big change is you can no longer navigate to approve amounts to make changes. If you want to save this rec without sending it into workflow, you need to come up here and make sure that this box is checked. Hold from further processing. Check the box, hit save. It does not go into workflow. You can come back and make edits. If this box is not checked and you hit save, it's going into the approver workflow and you will no longer be able to make changes. So that's the big note on that. The next thing we're going to do is click on the schedule icon. And here you can click on the magnifying glass if you need to select a different ship to location. The quantity and price and the amount and attention to fields have all defaulted in. You can change this attention to field if you want to send it to the attention of someone else at Western Farmers. Just make sure it is an employee here. And then we also have this due date, and that's something to fill in if you can know when or about when you're going to receive the invoice and the invoice is going to need to be paid. Put that date here. I'm going to select a date that is more than 30 days out, and I'm just going to do that because when I click on the next part, which is this icon for accounting detail, I get this warning message that the date is out of range. And that's just saying normally the date is within 30 days of today's date, just letting you know that you've gone outside that normal period, but it's just an alert, nothing, okay? And now we're in the accounting detail. This is going to be what tells the system what accounts and work orders to charge the payments to. So in distributions here, you can see that the first field is a percentage field, and this option makes it possible to charge the requisition to multiple accounts. The only thing to note here is however many accounts you want to charge this to, you just need to make sure that the percentages add up to 100% so that you won't get an error message. So now we have this other information that has defaulted in, and that is including the account and the The department defaults in based on the user's department. The account is coming from the category that we selected on the main page. And if you have questions on where to change something or what needs to be entered in, you can just ask. It's fairly common once you get in this information entered in, you might get a combo code error because certain accounts are going to require an operating unit or a project code. So just try to have all of that information in front of you when you sit down to write the requisition. And what you're going to be entering on your rec and including this account page, it's all going to be different based on your department and your project. But just as an example, we're going to charge these widgets to a work order. So we have the correct account number for the work order. We're going to change the department. And then we're going to enter some other information. Maybe I don't know the work order number, but I know that it contains some numbers, so we can look it up that way. You can also look it up by the description. Now we're going to click OK. And we didn't get an error message, so we're going to return to the main page. And the last thing to note on this Details tab is this quote bubble. That's where we can enter notes about this line item. Sorry about that. If you enter something here, just put your name or initials at the end so that all users can see who that information is coming from, because PeopleSoft does not track who enters things here. And then we have the option of checking some boxes here. If you don't want the supplier to see these comments because it's just an internal note or something that wouldn't really make sense to them, don't check any boxes. But if we do want them to see it, then we can check these, and that will show up on the PO. And then we also have the option of coming here and uploading a file. So if you have a contract or if you have a quote, it's nice to include that here. And then we'll just click OK. Back at this main page, we have all of our details filled in. So now we're just going to go through these other tabs. Some of this information is just defaulting in from other areas. Status, this rec is pending. Nothing to do here. Supplier information, if you have the name of the vendor you're going to be using, it's great to enter that here. In most cases, you'll probably know that. And if you don't know the ID offhand, you can just come up here and search for their name. And then we'll go to item information just to look. If this was going to be an inventory item, you could enter that information here. But since this is a non-inventory requisition, we're going to go ahead and go on to attributes. And here you're going to want to select a buyer. And that's important because whoever you choose is going to get an email notification when this requisition has been approved that they need to process the purchase order. So if you don't select anyone, it may cause a delay because somebody has to go out and search for this requisition. So just pick somebody here, and then over in physical nature, you can select goods or services. It's a good, so we're going to leave that alone. If this were a services requisition and the quantity was 1, this is a box that you could check. So if this were a services requisition with a quantity of 1, you could come over to this amount only box and check it. And what that does is allows the purchase order to be received as a dollar amount rather than by quantity. So that's something to remember. For this, we're going to leave it unchecked. And then here's contract and sourcing controls, but there's nothing to change here. So we're ready to go back. We have the main page with all of our information filled in. This is where I think we're ready to hit save, but just one more time, I want to reiterate that hitting save here is going to send it directly into workflow. If you want to come back and make edits later, make sure and check this hold from further processing box. But since I have everything filled in, I think we're ready to hit save. Before I do, I'm going to point out up here, business unit 10,000, requisition ID is next. Once I hit save, as long as there are no errors, the page will refresh and it assigns this requisition ID as a number. So you can see we're still at a status of pending. We didn't check this box. We clicked save. That means that this requisition has been sent into the approval workflow to be approved by the supervisor and on up through the levels. And once it is approved, the buyer will get an email notification and will be ready to process your purchase order. Hopefully you found this information helpful.